is because my grandfather was a Lion. He was Joseph Henry Lyons. And the Queen of England, her father's name is Henry Lyons. So it's true enough that the bloodlines do run true, but the bloodlines don't tell what a person is going to be about. The person tells what they're going to be about. There's no such thing with destiny unless you're going backwards. That means something's already been written about you. We're going forward where nothing's been written about us. Tales unknown, as it's called. And so this is what I'm putting back within our youth, even if it seems like something new. What it is what's going to be able to get us to where we're not having this same experience over again because we keep going backwards like the two sons keep fighting with each other, whether it's Set and Osiris or whether it's Israel or whether it's Al and An or whether it's, over and over again, the continuation of fight. So we're going to leave the situation for them to continue to fight in, but what we intend to do is those that want to ascend, that's where we're going to take those individuals with us and then let them manifest what they've been wanting to manifest as they practice in the dark.
I see. Excellent, excellent. So now, as Brother Stevie Wonder said many, many years ago, if you believe in things that you don't understand, then you'll suffer. So I'm 47 years old. I've been around a long time. So, when I listen to music, I'm not just listening to the beat, I'm not just listening to it, to shake my booty and snap my finger. I'm listening for the message, because, I'm a child of the 60s. I came up through the 70s and the 80s. And some of the messages that was in the music back then, Earth, Wind, and Fire, and Sun Ra, unfortunately, a lot of brothers and sisters missed it, because they were too into the beat, and partying off that music. So what many of us need to do is go back and listen to some of that old music, because a lot of what brothers and sisters are just getting into now, a lot of them tried to tell us back then.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you got bands called Fifth Dimension and all sorts of things going on, and it's definitely a lot of knowledge that was continually being pressed through. And here's how I see it. What happens sometimes you have individuals that are so brave they can see the future already. And so what they do is it does take a strategy at times in order to change the future. It doesn't take just one action; it takes a strategy. And what I believe is definitely the ancestors that we do have saw all of this coming. The dolphin, at one point I was able to interface with a dolphin, and they speak in sonar. And the dolphin, the first thing that it said when I was able to transfer its signal was that it sent its signal into the future, and it could see the future with its signal. And that just made so much sense to me from a scientific standpoint, that if it already knows how to communicate with bouncing off sounds, all it's got to do is continue to send it at the actual material object until it completely formulates itself. And so seeing and knowing that there was something more to be achieved here out of the world than what is being presented is what gave me the fire that I have now to speak forth and say things as they need to be said. Because remember, a lot of this information, this part of the information is data. This is just getting a person caught up with what's going on. But it's really not about that. It's only a portion of the activation that is necessary to take place within the individual so that they can get themselves to a higher level, because they're seeing the Most High through filters, and that's going to end up being a problem now. Meaning that the more people describe, okay, my God is a man, its name is God, and this is its story, and it started here, and it looked like this. They've made God into man. They made the Most High into man now. This is crazy. It's like, where's our focal point? Like, my focal point has to go sit on the toilet. That's not really what I know created this. And so what I started looking deeper into was definitely high mysticism. There was like a hyperdimensional language being spoken within the inner circles, the ones who did take all the books and had kept all of the contact with the gates. And when they started to tamper with the ley lines and put up the pyramid system. And what I will say at this point is that the earth has in itself a net around it. And when a person, and you can even see this net, if you actually use a black light and you cover your eyes at night, like you cover your eyes all night and the top of your head, and you have a black light in your room, when you wake up in the morning about 3:30, 4 o'clock, something like this, and you just pull the black cover off your eye and look right at a white wall, you'll see the grid. This is something that I've experimented with other individuals that weren't spiritually in tune, so they didn't have any other equipment turned on, and they could see it because of the change within the eye. And what I started noticing that, okay, so a being came a while ago and was told to subdue the earth by putting it in a net. And this net they later called Indara's net. Now, of course, this name also means Marduk. This name also means Cain. This name means so many of the same individual that when you really get the complete story, the people are actually worshiping the individual. That's
wow.
what makes it their version of their version of how they run society is to make the person love their rapist, and they make them love the master and serve the master. And this is not going to work with the youth. And that's what's happening with the youth. They're ping-ponging right now, because right now the media icons are trying to push them in one direction, and this is your Jehovah or Jay-Z. Okay, you can't take the name Jehovah for people to understand. You can't take this name unless you're affiliated with Jehovah. And I've had my sessions with Jehovah, and it's definitely a serpent being, and it's very powerful, and it seems to control most of the things going on in the United States that have avowed to the United States. But the most interesting thing about this whole thing was how people couldn't see that this rap individual was actually affiliated with it. Or Lil Wayne, which means Lil is the other name for Lilith, Wayne being the opposite side of the moon, or when the moon is decreasing. So it's like when you not to mention Nas and Nazarites and Nazis, like and you know the affiliations that his father had, and we sat across from each other, and so I've been able to see, you know, with the spiritual eye what's going on. And so now here's what it is, like Dr. Bell was talking about. It's something like we used to call it the death wish. See, what happens is that one of the most strongest characters on the dimension is the person who just doesn't really care to live. That's because they already seen what comes after this, and they know it's better than this. And then so they are able to operate in the dimension with no fear and face nothing, no type of repercussions from a negative force, because they're ready to be completely removed from the dimension anyway. And so this is now what people, because the brother was asking on another show, he said, how much does fear really control everything? It controls everything. Yes. Like all the F words tend to control things. And that's another part of the code that we're presenting, is showing how the language, the moment that the language was loaded, for better lack of words, we had to be on our guard. The language is so muddled with the deities themselves. A person evokes, and they're pantheistic all day. For those people who think they're monotheists, they're wrong. They're not serving one God. Just within the emphasis that we put on the words, especially when we say them, from even our own names, which is Amen, it's hidden. It's a main, as the Zoroastrian and the Persians used to worship the mains. This is the arts of Mithras. These are the names that were spewed upon the earth that were, they say, were abhorred in heaven. They were thrown out of heaven. And so really, here's what we really we boil into is that now the human being has an opportunity to actually put themselves on another level where they don't want to deal with this anymore. And this is now the time. It doesn't come any other time. At this point, the shift takes the cycle itself. Earth, from my understanding, is deciding to make its own decisions at this point. And that's something that I've not only got coming across from multiple channels, basically, even interfacing with the earth myself, because the earth has played host to many of these gods also, and that's just something that is unnecessary to elaborate on right now, because it does take us into longer stories of the history of the earth. But the thing about the earth is, it's just like the difference between you and your mother. You're not your mother. You're not. Like Khalil, you're a part of her, yes, but not completely. And just like Khalil Gibran even said, you could, the parents, they play like the bow. They can make the arrow straight as they can and then shoot it. But once it's off the bow, you can't tell it where it needs to go. And so that's really what's happening, or you can't affect it anymore. And that's really what